Hello everyone, in this video I'll cover how to create entity relationship diagram using draw.io. Draw.io is an open source software that you can use to draw different type of diagrams. It's the world's most widely used browser-based end-user diagramming software. You can access the software at drawio.com or by going to app.diagrams.net or just entering draw.io in your browser. Here's an ERD of a simple relational database where we are storing student course enrollment information along with the department they belong to. There are 4 different tables: the student table, the course table, the enrollment table, and the department table. The department table has 2 attributes, department ID and department name, where department ID is the primary key, and student table has student ID, first name, last name, email, phone, and department ID as the attributes, where student ID is the primary key, and department ID is a foreign key because this department ID attribute is coming from the department table. And here you can see that if you analyze the relationship, one department can have 0 or many students, and one student will belong to 0 or 1 department. A student maybe just enrolled is yet to declare a major. That's why it's 0 or optional, but he can have only 1 major at a time. And this relationship identifies student-mentor relationship, where you can see it's a self relationship or recursive relationship where one student can mentor 0 or many other students. On the other hand, if there's a student, he will have 0 or 1 student mentor. And we have the course table with course ID, course title, course hour, and course description, where course ID is the primary key. Now, if you analyze the relationship between student and course, these are 2 independent entities, but the relationship is many to many because one student can be enrolled in many courses and one course can have many enrollees. Now, in relational database, many to many relationship is implemented with 2 one-to-many relationship with the help of an associative entity. So associative entity is an entity that associates or links 2 independent entities like student and course. So in the enrollment table, we'll include the primary key of the related table. So you can see we stored student ID and course ID, which are the primary key of the respective tables. And the primary key of the enrollment table will be a composite primary key, which will be a combination of student ID and course ID. So that's why you're seeing this is a primary key. This is also the part of the primary key, and these 2 are foreign keys. Okay, now let's see how we can draw this entity relationship diagram using draw.io. If you go to drawio.com and click start, it will take you to the online diagramming software. Now let's become familiar with the user interface. This highlighted area is the drawing canvas, where you can drag different shapes and connection to draw different type of diagrams. And on the left hand side, this is the shape library, where you can see it provides you with different general shapes. If you collapse this option, you can see there are many other options. So we are interested in the entity relationship option, where you can see it provides you with different shapes to present entities or tables in relational database, and it also provides you with different type of connections in cross-foot notation. On the right hand side is the format panel, which you can use to change the properties of different shapes and connections. And on the top, there's this menu option where you can use it to create a new diagram, save a diagram, export a diagram to different formats like PNG, JPEG, or PDF. And here's the toolbar where you can see it provides you with more shapes. You can add tables, you can add different type of connections. Now let's design the ERD that we just discussed. We'll use these first 2 shapes to design the table. There's a difference between these 2 different shapes. The first design should be used where the primary key of the table is a single attribute primary key, and this should be used where the primary key is a composite primary key, where it includes multiple attributes. Now let's design the student table where student ID is the primary key. There's the first name attribute, last name attribute, email attribute, and there are additional attributes like phone and department ID. So if you'd like to add additional attribute, you can click on this arrow and you can add phone, and you'd like to add department ID. This department ID is a foreign key. It will come from the department table that we'll design next. And if you'd like to mention that department ID is a foreign key, you can click here and write FK. Now, to show certain fields are required fields, they are displayed in boldface. To do that, you can select the list of attributes that are required by selecting the first one, then pressing Shift and selecting the other ones, and then you can press Ctrl B, or you can go to text in the format panel and click the boldface option. So here now, as you can see, the first 4 fields are required fields. Okay, now let's design the department table where there are only 2 attributes. Department ID is the primary key and department name is the additional attribute, which is a required field. So you selected, press Ctrl B to make it boldface. It's a required field, and there are no other additional attributes. Now to delete additional attributes, you select that particular attribute, click one more time to select the entire row and press delete, and we'll do the same for the next attribute and delete it. Now we have the department table. Now we'll design the course table where course, then we have course ID, which is the primary key, and we have course title, and we have credit hour, and the course description field where course title and credit hour are required. So we'll press Shift and click on those 2 attributes and press Ctrl B. Course description is optional. Now we'll work on the enrollment table. So enrollment table is the associative entity which associates student and course, and its primary key will be a combination of the primary key of the student table and the course table. So you'll write student ID and course ID. So the primary key of this enrollment table is a composite primary key combination of student ID and course ID, and these are also foreign keys because student ID refers to student tables student ID, course ID refers to course tables course ID attribute, and enrollment table has its own attribute grade, which is optional because a student may be just enrolled in a class yet to get a grade, so it can be null, and we don't need this 4th attribute. So double click on it and enter, delete. Now let's move this a little, center it. Okay, now it's time to draw the connection among these different related tables. There are 2 different ways that you can draw relationship lines. The first way is you can drag this arrow and connect it with the other related entity. Now here you can see that the line endpoints aren't showing the correct cardinality following cross-foot notation. Now how to fix this is select the connection line and go to the format panel, style tab, and here you can change the endpoint of the connection lines, and you have all different options. So from student to enrollment, one student can be enrolled in one or many classes. So you can locate one or many from here, which is this. And from enrollment to student, one enrollment record will belong to one and only one student. So that will be 2 vertical bar. So you can locate it from here. This is 2 vertical bar. So you can see that one student can enroll in one or many classes. One enrollment record will belong to one and only one student. Now this is one of the ways to draw the connection line. Now the other way is to utilize this provided connection line. So you can locate the correct connection type with the correct cardinality, or you can just drag any particular connection line and change the endpoints. So that's what I'll do. So we'll connect course table with the enrollment table. Now we'll update the connection endpoint. So one enrollment record will belong to only one course, so it will be 2 vertical line. So if you go here, it will be 2 vertical line, and from course to enrollment, one course will have one or many enrollees. So in that case, it will be one or many. So these will be the correct connection type. Okay, now let's take care of the relationship between student and department. So one student will belong to 0 or 1 department. So in that case, you can draw a direct connection between these two. And one student will have 0 or 1 department. So we'll select 0 or 1, which is this. And one department will have 0 or many students. So in that case, select the connection line and select 0 or many. Okay, now enrollment table is a weak entity because its existence depends on the student entity and the course entity, and its primary key is composed of the primary key of the table student and course. So to represent weak entity in an ERD, it's presented within rounded rectangle. So to do that, you can select the enrollment table, and if you select the effects tab and select rounded, it will be represented within a rounded rectangle. So this is the weak entity. And to represent a non-identifying relationship, so here department student is a parent-child relationship. One department can have many students, but since student table's existence doesn't depend on the parent entity, student can exist without a department. That's why it's an non-identifying relationship, which is represented using dashed lines instead of solid lines. So here you select this particular connection, and from here you select that it will be a dashed line. So from dashed line, you know that it's a non-identifying relationship. Now the last relationship that we'll work on is the student-mentor relationship, where we'll drag a connection from student to student. It's a self-relationship or recursive relationship, and we'll have to update the connection endpoints. So one student can mentor 0 or many student. So we'll do 0 or many. And if there's a student, he will have 0 or 1 student mentor. So it will be 0 or 1. Okay, so now this is the correct relationship. One student can mentor 0 or many student. If there's a student, he will have 0 or 1 student mentor. Now, if you'd like to label your relationship, the way to do that is you can go to the General tab and drag these text labels on any of the connection, and you can change the label to say student mentor. So that way you know that this connection is representing the student mentor relationship. Now, if you'd like to make some changes to the appearance of the table, you can select the table and change the background color of the table header. We can do the same for all the tables. Okay, now one last thing I'd like to show is the group ungroup option. If you drag this table, it won't move any of the other entities or any of the other connections. Now, if you'd like to treat all these different components of the ERD as a single component, you can do that by selecting all the objects, all the components, and right-clicking on it and clicking group. That way it will treat the entire diagram as a single object. And if you select it, if you say move one of the object, you can see that it's moving the entire object. It's treating it as a single object. Now, one last thing, if you'd like to export this diagram as a PNG or as a PDF, you can do that from here. Export as, say, we'll do it as PDF. You can select any of these options. If you click export, say, we'll name it to ERD demo, save it. Once saved, if you open it, you can see this is a PDF file and it exported the diagram. Thank you, everyone.